In this video I'm going to give you 10 psychology book recommendations. So it can be hard sometimes to find some really good books to read, but don't worry, I have here plenty of recommendations if you're interested in psychology, and I think psychology is helpful for anybody really. It's also really easy to read psychology books. They are like, most of them are just about like normal life, day-to-day life, like relationships or something, like some challenges and so on. So they are really easy to read. I'm going to start from number 10. These are my top 10 list. So I'll start with number 10, go all the way to 1, which is like my favorite. I save it for last. So I don't actually have a table for this. I'm so minimalistic here. By the way, also if you want to improve your focus when you read, I recommend Four Sigmatic Mushroom Coffee. That's what I'm having right now, enhanced with some coconut oil. Link is in the description, so you can actually drink a little bit better coffee, have better focus. Also, all these books are linked in the description, so after watching this video you can go shop them at Book Depository. This is what I recommend. They have free shipping worldwide. So now Activate Your Brain is the first book. This is by Scott G. Halford. How understanding your brain can improve your work and your life. So this is really, like the title says, about understanding your brain, how it works, how you can improve like your brain. It's a while that I read this, but I enjoyed this. This is a helpful book, like all about like how to improve your brain, which is really important, of course. Now number 9 is Anxious by Joseph Ledoux. This is helpful if you are anxious, and interesting if you aren't, but I think you probably are struggling somewhat with anxiety if you read this book. But this helped me a lot. I used to be a lot more anxious before, but now this is like, it talks about, for example, like exposure therapy, like how if you're scared of elevators, you should be using elevators, and so that you can actually get exposed to that and get like, you finally like slowly get regulated, and you can regulate that anxiety. So this says using the brain to understand and treat fear and anxiety. So yeah, really interesting book. Next we have Social by Matthew D. Lieberman. Why our brains are wired to connect. So this is a very important and interesting book. So it actually says here in the back as well that if you are lonely, it is as bad to your health as smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day, which is totally like crazy, and that's something we don't think about. Like many people are just lonely, especially now that there's this pandemic and everything. Loneliness is really like poison. It's really bad for you. We are meant to be like, humans are meant to live in communities. They are meant to live with a family or with some other like allies and other people. So we are not meant to be alone. It also talks about like breakups and like love relationships, and how that can actually be, the pain of breakup can be as bad as really like losing your leg, he even says, which is also really crazy. But of course it's really painful if you like lose a loved one, and it doesn't actually mean, I think, even just like love relations. I mean like romantic relationships can mean also like the death of like a family member or something. Next, The Wiener Effect, How Power Affects Our Brain. Ian Robertson, he has written this book. This is like really like, I really like it reading this book. This is one of my favorites actually, like that I have ever read. Very interesting and important, like to understand like how like winning and testosterone and those things, they make us like act very differently. Like if you win, your testosterone goes up, and then you want to like take more risks and you want to go for wins again and again and again. It creates this kind of spiral. But if you like lose, then you're less motivated to like go for like some next wins, and so that's why it's not necessarily a good idea to like gamble, because you cannot really know when you win or don't, and it's not like really good for you to constantly be losing at something like chess or basketball or something. So yeah, interesting book. Next we have The Evolution of Desire by David M. Buss. Strategies of Human Mating, a Drop-Dead Shocker, Washington Post has written that. But yeah, Strategies of Human Mating, this is like the psychology of like mating and like sexual attraction. So I have actually read 2 other books by him as well. He actually writes like textbooks for like universities. So I have read personality psychology and evolutionary psychology, which are really interesting too. I read the whole textbook, and he writes in a way that's really easy to understand, and this is like fascinating stuff to understand this kind of stuff. And yeah, really great psychologist. I really like his books. I have actually some other books as well. I read also Dangerous Passion, which is also on the same topic, a little bit like more on like jealousy and stuff like that in relationships. So next we are just getting to better and better books. Willpower. This is really such a fascinating read. It is about like how willpower is like not something that we have like endlessly. It's something that is like the battery of your phone, goes down during the day. Also you can train willpower, which is really interesting. Like you can like wake up earlier, you can take cold showers, whatever. You can do things with your left hand instead of your right hand because it's more difficult and takes some little amounts of willpower to do that as well. So this is really such a great psychology book, great for personal development as well. Next we have The Age Factor of Personality. This is by Kibeom Lee and Michael C. Ashton. Why some people are manipulative, self-entitled, materialistic and exploitative, and why it matters for everyone. This book, this is a short book, it should be read by everybody. Just everybody, I don't care who you are. This is so important to read, understanding like narcissistic people, Machiavellian people, then also psychotic people. Those are like 3 main like personality types, and the people have like different levels of those. Some are more narcissistic, more Machiavellian. Ideal is that you have as little of those as possible. Like I have done the test actually, which is by some of these people I think who wrote this book. So yeah, like some people who are like narcissistic, for example, they like think, for example, they are entitled and think that they deserve a bigger slice of the pie, like that you do as much work as the other person in a business, but then the other person thinks that he deserves a more bigger part of the income that you earn. Machiavellian people, of course, they are like cruel and like sneaky. They go do things behind your back, they stab your back, they steal money from you and stuff like that, so you need to stay away from people like that. Mostly this is important for if you choose a business partner or like life partner. That's really important as well. You don't really want a narcissistic partner. They will be really annoying, like, and hard to deal with. Then psychotic people, psychopaths, psychotic people, that I had 0 on that myself, but some people have very high the psychopath score, which means that they are like totally like merciless. Like they are people that are in the jails of the world, like who just like stab you or like cut your throat or something, and they don't even like break a sweat. They can shoot like people. That's also, of course, it's positive if you are like a police or a Navy SEAL or something. You cannot be afraid to shoot the enemy because you are like have some empathy or something. You need to be like cruel and just shoot. But otherwise, that's not a great characteristic to have. How is that so hard to say? Next we have national bestseller Influence: The Psychology of Persuasion, Robert B. Cialdini, PhD. One of my favorite books of all. This is a must-read for marketers and salespeople. This has 7 like psychological biases that he talks about that like salespeople and marketers manipulate. They use those to like make us buy. There's, for example, social proof, which is like most people don't really want to think about. Like if most people see that like 1,000 other people have made the purchase or something and reviewed it positively and something, then it makes it look like I don't really need to think about this purchase because I see that other people have already done the thinking for me and decided. And other things like liking, we buy from people who we like, and of course like scarcity. If something's really scarce, you have this 1 or 2 products left. This experiences for just this weekend or something that we buy. And this is really a great way to guard yourself against those influences, but also you don't really need to use this manipulatively. You can do something for a great cause. You can sell a great product and just help people make the purchase decision by being a better salesperson, like being likable, of course. There's nothing wrong with that. Or social proof if you are ethical and if you are honest with that you really have a lot of customers or something. And then it just helps the customer to choose. But then next we have Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. I hope I say that at least a little bit right. Flow, the classic work on how to achieve happiness. This is second on the list, by the way, and this is really interesting, and yeah, it makes me happy when I read this and like apply this. Like, we are meant to do like things, or it's good to do things that we can have a flow with, like things that we like. There's multiple things your work can be that, cooking can be that, exercise, reading, chess, thinking, whatever can be like flow. And that's like the happiest state that you can really like be in, when you're present to the moment and completely in a flow, and time just kind of flies and you just like are totally in the flow, and it feels like totally different than normal life. Then number one, of course, has to be Sigmund Freud, Civilization and its Discontents, because he's like the founder of modern psychology. This is a kind of hard book to understand. I think like the only book in this list that is kind of difficult to understand, but it's such like essential, like basic psychology stuff in here, like how people move from pain and discomfort towards happiness and pleasure. That's like the basic like principle of like psychology, like how humans behave. We don't do things to ourselves that cause pain intentionally, and we don't like, if we can have like pleasure, we go for that, and like for happiness, of course, we don't want to be unhappy. There's some other stuff here as well, but this is an interesting book. Maybe you need to read it a couple of times to understand it a little bit better. But that concludes the list. Remember that they are all linked in the description, so you don't need to go searching for them. I did all the work for you. Also subscribe for more videos like this and hit thumbs up if this was helpful. I will see you next time.